about to share a shuffle mindset shift and perspective change that is completely going to change the way that you look at progress and completely change the way that you look at your practice. The phrase that I heard that changed everything for me is the phrase boring before brilliance. Now, you might wonder how this has anything to do with shuffle dance, and I'm going to tell you. So, a little backstory. I was sitting in a restaurant, there was a TV hanging on the wall, and there was a commercial playing. This was during the World Series when it was the Blue Jays, go Toronto, versus LA. And the commercial was basically saying how the athletes would train their basics, their foundations over and over and over again. And that is how they got to World Series level skill. It was showing the greatest athletes in the baseball world, and how they got there was by embodying the phrase boring before brilliance. This is so powerful and so impactful because it can apply to any discipline or any passion that you do in your life. And this specifically struck me because there are so many people in the shuffle world that are not willing to go through the boring elements. And I say this in quotations because I don't believe it's boring. At one point, I actually did. And I don't believe that at all anymore. And I wish that I knew this sooner. But they try to skip over all of the boring things, all of the foundations, all of the drills, and they just want to do tricks. They want to learn the fanciest combos. They want to dance to the fastest songs, but they're not mastering the basics and the fundamentals that builds the strength and the foundation to get them there. They want to be at a super high skill level, but they're not willing to put in the repetition or the basic conditioning or the drills or whatever it takes to get them there. It's like we want to just jump to the end result, but we're not willing to do what it actually takes to make it happen. And this is what happens so much with foundations and fundamentals inside of shuffling. If you want a brilliant, unique flow, you must commit to the boring work, not only first, but throughout your entire shuffle journey. This does not end after you're done being a beginner shuffler and you can finally go to the classes a level up. This does not end when you're an intermediate shuffler. This does not end when you are an advanced shuffler. You will need to work on your foundations, all of those things that at one point you maybe found boring. You will need to work on them through your entire journey. And that is because that's what builds the house that shuffling stands on, right? If you were to build a house and there was cracks in the foundation, or I know nothing about house building, but you would really want to make sure that the foundation is super, super solid. You can't hang curtains. You can't decide what art you're going to put on the wall. You can't make the furniture and the paint look beautiful if the foundation is literally falling apart. And what makes a home, if we're going to stick with this crazy analogy, what makes a home beautiful isn't necessarily the foundation, but that's what makes it functional. And that's what makes the beauty that we place on top of it so relevant and so incredible. Okay. You will always see, almost always, I feel like things are changing a little bit nowadays, but you'll always see on TikTok, Instagram, whatever, people showing their brilliance, right? People call it a highlight reel. In this aspect, it is their brilliance. They are showing the unique combo, the explosive freestyle. They're showing their most brilliant moments, but most people are never showing the boring side of it. They're never showing the tedious, repetitive hour of drilling. They're never showing how stressful it might have been at the beginning of their journey or whatever the case may be, because we're trained to want the result without the work. But you need to do both. You need the work to get the result, okay? So I'm going to define, just give some examples of what the boring work could look like. Now, these quotations are so heavy. These air quotes are like the biggest air quotes ever because I personally do not believe this is boring. As I said before, at one point in my shuffle journey, I did think this stuff was boring. And guess what? I skipped over it. It led to so many headaches, so much frustration, not progressing, getting injured, having to literally hire so many people to mentor me to undo all of the mistakes that I made on my own by skipping over these things. So now This is why I'm so passionate about it, because y'all need the boring work. This means your running man consistently working on that, your T-step, rocking, micro bounce, slides, kicks, spins, all of those Melbourne Shuffle fundamentals. So important. Even if you don't like Melbourne Shuffling, you at least need to learn the fundamentals. Even if you want to be a cutting shapes superstar, right? Then we have cutting shapes. Learn those basics, work on them, consistently refine them, see how your muscles and your body and your brain can engage in different ways to continuously level them up. It is not something that you just learn once and move on from. It is not a box that you just check off and then that's it. I never have to visit this again. Okay? We want to work on these things so that they become automatic in our body. And we want to really feel every single element of these movements because they are the foundation of all the tricks and crazy combos and cool choreographies that you see on the internet that you crave to do for yourself. So don't skip that foundational work, okay? When you are striving for brilliance, but you are like using the boring before brilliance mentality, you are going to trade that like immediate excitement, like, oh, I just need to get this one thing, like instant gratification almost, for long-term mastery. You're actually going to be able to master something long-term and feel really good about it instead of just doing random movements and just like kind of flinging your body from one move to the other. You're going to have total control. Okay? You can't be unique, creative, or brilliant if you're fighting your feet. You're fighting your body because shuffling's a full body dance, right? So most people hate drilling. This is what I kind of noticed because I always like to ask myself, why is this the standard thought process and how can we change it? Most people hate drilling because they're drilling either randomly or incorrectly. They're not making it fun for themselves. They don't know what they're doing. Like it only feels boring when you don't know exactly what to do and exactly why you're doing it, or it only feels boring when you don't have a plan. Like if you just decide, okay, I'm just going to do some drills today, and you do 5 running mans and you do 5 T-steps, like you don't even know why you're doing it. So it makes sense that this drilling or boring work, we're using drilling as an example, it makes sense that it's inefficient, right? It makes sense that it is lacking structure. We need to add purpose behind it. And that way this perceived boring work, AKA just our fundamentals, can lead us to the brilliance. When you start romanticizing and falling in love with your fundamentals as a shuffle dancer, I promise you, everything is going to change. Everything you care to learn, all the things saved in your Instagram folder, all of those things are going to make so much more sense. But you're not going to get there right now by skipping over it or rushing through it. Okay? Stop chasing the flashy things and start embracing the boring work, air quotes again, that actually make those flashy, more brilliant things possible. And make sure that you have a system that is getting you there, that is repetitive, like in a good way, repetitive, that helps you drill it, that is efficient, that is effective, etc. This is exactly what I teach inside of my Footwork Blueprint. It's a fundamentals course that helps you turn those perceived boring elements, again, I don't think they're boring, into brilliance, right? It provides precise, structured training for your foundations that make you feel excited about shuffling. Even if you've already learned the running man, I promise you're going to feel 10 times more excited once you learn it in the blueprint, because it's going to completely change the way that you see things and that you do things. It's going to remove all the guesswork from drilling. It's going to remove the question mark when you get into your practice session of like, well, what do I work on? Right? Half the battle is just having a plan. You're going to learn the exact mechanics of every single fundamental movement in shuffle dance and cutting shapes. You're going to lock them into your muscle memory, and you will actually be able to not only romanticize the boring work, but you will be able to do it faster and get better more quickly and see more progress than just having a random practice, right? You'll be able to get to that, like, I can do this on autopilot type status with your fundamentals, and that will actually free your mind and release the pressure so that you can be the brilliant dancer that you actually want to be. So take away boring before brilliance. If you have to write a note on your phone, if you have to bring a sticky note with you to practice, every time you're wanting to jump around, every time you think that learning a new combo or whatever is going to get you where you want to be, come back to this statement, and it is going to absolutely change everything. If you want to learn more about the Footwork Blueprint, there is going to be information in the show notes, in the caption, wherever you are reading or listening or watching or listening to this. I always say reading. And that is going to help you get there significantly quicker. Hope you have a great day. See you in the next one.